It's all very attentive. Good morning, everyone. You're all very welcome to a really beautiful sunny Glasson here today. We'll try to keep it as brief as possible because everyone wants to go to the beach, enjoy the lovely weather. But we will have coffee in a little while and encourage you to get outside there in the lovely balcony because it really is beautiful. We're delighted to have so many of you here with us today, and we hope that by the time you're leaving us today, you will have forged lots of great connections with all the great independent AB Commerce retailers here in the room. Remember, you're all on the same journey. Everyone's trying to push forward and be more successful online. We hope that by the time you leave, your heads will be brimming full of information, and all those sheets of paper in front of you will be filled with lots of to-do lists, all of which will form your action plan for the year ahead. For many of you here today, this is now an annual pilgrimage. Thank you for joining us. For others of you, though, this is your first time at the Magico AB Commerce Summit, and we'd like to welcome some new retailers to the platform who are joining us here for the first time today. Welcome to Joe McKenna Hardware, and to Tommy Varden Catering Supplies, to Glyn's of Tuam, and also to Tool Guys. We also have some new prospective retailers in the room as well that we hope to work with in the future. You're all very welcome, and we really hope you enjoy the day today. So the last 12 months have been another busy year. We have lots of exciting developments on the AB Commerce platform. Patrick Clare is going to take you through those after lunch, so hurry back after your lunch. We'll have teas and coffees and cookies here for you to enjoy while he takes you through some of those new features of the platform. There's also been lots of developments, innovations, new entrants into the e-commerce landscape here in Ireland. So we're very lucky to have a lot of guest speakers here today to take you through some of those topics. So later on, we'll be talking to you about the launch of Amazon.ie, TikTok Shop, and also the upcoming European Accessibility Act regulations, which come into play in June of this year. So something we and you as retailers also need to be aware about. We're delighted to have our sponsors and our partners with us here today. We have Graham Wilkinson, Head of Partnerships with Trustpilot. Give us a wave there, Graham. That's Graham. We've Keelan Moran, Account Executive at Klaviyo. We have Paul Walsh, founder of All Things Amazon, there behind you. Althea De Silva, Director of Marketing and Operations with Adhere Digital. Hi, Althea. And we have Kieran Crean and Colin McGillary as well. Kieran's founder of Wave OMS. And we also have Niamh Kelly, CEO of Tigam, down here. We will hear from many of them throughout the day, and we look forward to the insights that they will share with us. But we do encourage you to seek them out. Some of our sponsors have stands here today, but they're all wearing a lanyard. Have chats with them. They're very open to having the discussion with you, so do have the chat. We always say at these events that we hope you will take lots of golden nuggets from what we present to you here today, and also what our guest expert speakers talk through. We feel it's equally important that you chat to your own retailers as well. Remember that you're all on the same journey, and some of the challenges that you might be facing in your business right now, you can be absolutely sure that there's other retailers in the room experiencing the exact same challenges, or maybe they've gone through them and they've actually come out the other side. So those golden nuggets can often be found over the cup of coffee or lunch, or even just a chat across the table. And we encourage you to mingle and to be open, because there's lots of shared experience and success stories here in the room. So it'd be great to share that. Finally, if you're enjoying the day and you're learning some valuable insights, we encourage you to share those on social media under the hashtag Magico Summit 25. And just to remind you as well, your agenda for today is on the back of your lanyard, so you can keep track of what's going on and what's coming up next as we work through. So we've quite a busy day planned, so we'll get going. So our opening session then of this morning was Orla Cooney in discussion with Jason Keneally from Country Farm Supplies. Unfortunately, Jason can't make it here today, though, struck down with illness yesterday evening, unfortunately. Fortunately though, I did have quite a good chat with Jason earlier on this week, and we had gone through a lot of the questions and his thoughts and answers on the topics that we were going to discuss this morning. So with his blessing, I'm going to go ahead and talk you through and hopefully do him justice and share with him some of the insights that Jason had shared with me earlier on this week. So this is Country Farm Supplies. For you, I suppose, for those of you who are not familiar, let me tell you maybe a little bit about the business. It started in August 2020, so this business is only 5 years up and running. It started in the spare room of Jason's house for the first year and a half of those 5 years. And he started selling footwear to the agri and the hardware space. He had a real love for agri, instilled by his grandfather, who would have had a huge farm and a contracting business. And then I suppose the zest for business was instilled from his dad. So it put him on a good path to setting up his own business. As I said, it started just as a footwear retailer, and it has now grown to over 9,000 products. Very much a family affair, and still is. He talks about his mum coming in to help him pick boxes when all the boxes were stacked up in his spare room, and he was getting orders through the online channel. He put kids to bed, and he was then fulfilling orders. So it has grown from there to becoming a one-stop shop for agri and hardware products. So yeah, that's a little bit about the background of it. The business is very much still in its infancy though, and believe it or not, there's only 4.5 people behind this business. 4.5, I know, there's one person part-time. So you would think that a business of this level would have more people, but it's actually quite a lean team. And I did talk to Jason and say, how did you get it all done? 4.5 people. That's somebody to put product online. They've really successful amount of orders going through the site. Someone's fulfilling orders, customer service, there's buying team. He said, yeah, lots of hard hours, lots of hard work, and just a great team and a willingness to jump into other people's positions when people are out sick or when there's holidays. So yeah, a little bit challenging. One of the things that I spoke to him about as well, and I suppose when we're onboarding retailers onto the platform, some of you are here today and you're at that stage at the moment, gathering quality descriptions and images can be one of the biggest hurdles for retailers to get online. And I was saying to Jason, how did you do that? And he said, well, I was working full time. So he said, I just had to decide I'm doing this, and I had to dedicate the hours to it. And he did it late at night. But he also said he did it, but he didn't just stop when the website went live and say, okay, that's enough now. Over the first 2 to 3 years of the site, he dedicated a huge amount of time to getting descriptions, getting images, multiple images, videos of product. And I suppose that point, that pushing forward on that is really important, and dedicating the time to it. Thankfully, later on today, Patrick's going to showcase to you an AI product description generator that we now have on the AB Commerce platform that'll hopefully make that task a little bit easier for all of you here today, and for Jason too. I asked Jason just to tell me a little bit about the importance of the online channel in those early days of the business. And as he said himself, it really was the primary source of revenue for the business. And it was quite interesting what he did. As the orders were coming in online, he was watching the customer. Who is my customer? Where are they from? And instead of having he has a guy out on the road doing direct farm sales, but he was looking at the orders that were coming in. He was spotting where there was big farmers placing orders, and kind of like what we do in Klaviyo, I suppose, in terms of the automated post-sale flows, he was kind of doing that manually. He was saying, oh look, there's an order from that guy. I know there's a big farm there, and he was actually putting his rep on the road, going out to that farm and talking to that retailer and developing a direct to farm sales channel from it. He said it was much more effective than just going out and cold calling. So I suppose, a really good example of demonstrating, what you can do on a lean team when you're really focused. He also has I suppose the business is primarily online. He does have a bricks and mortar, and he has a warehouse now and has a trade counter, but it is primarily an online business. When we look at the retailers that are successful on the AB Commerce platform, and we have lots of retailers in the hardware vertical, in the pharmacy vertical, and also in the sports, fashion, and apparel vertical as well. A lot of those retailers are even selling the same product. They're on the same common platform, and some of them actually use the same EPOS system as well. But there's different layers of success that everyone sees. So we often stand back and say, well, what makes a retailer successful? And really, it's the online, focus on online first is one of the key elements of that. And Jason said, well, I'm always thinking online first. Maybe a little bit easier because he's not as distracted so much on a bricks and mortar business, despite the fact that he does have a trade counter. And he said his approach to growth and any investment he makes in the business is he looks at his cost and return. So if he's going to, for example, invest in a sales rep, the cost of hiring somebody and a salary, he will always say, okay, well, if I put that same budget into my paid digital advertising, what would be the return out of that? And he weighs it up in that way. So that's kind of how he always pushes forward. Now, he's been very successful. He had 100% growth in the first year, 30% growth in 2024, and he's on track for 30 to 40% growth in 2025 again. He said looking at the analytics, that's something he does all of the time. Really important, staying close to the numbers. And again, in the next session, Gillian's going to talk you through how we have a new analytics upgrade on the platform now that gives you great visibility there, but this just shows you how much power is in that if you really look at the analytics and take the learnings from it. Jason stays very close to the numbers, and where he's seen spikes in views of product as a direct result of something that he is focused in his paid digital advertising campaign, he's watching that, he's watching the conversion of it, and if he's seen something taking off, he's boosting that product onto the homepage of the site, he's making sure that that product is further up the product list, he's making sure that that product he might even develop more organic content around it for his social media. He'll put more budget towards it in paid advertising, and he'll even feature it in his email marketing. So he's always watching the numbers, but it's the fact that he's reacting to it, and that's, I suppose, the nub of really being online first and focusing on the numbers. If you have a look at his website, have a look at some of his social media channels, you see Jason himself is very much front and center of all of the organic content that he's putting out there across many channels. He's on Facebook, Instagram, and very active on TikTok as well. And I was asking about the impact that he feels that activity has. He said it has huge impact. He told me loads of stories about how he was at a rugby match there recently, and also when he was at a concert, and both times got a tap on the shoulder saying, "You're the Country Farm Supplies guy. You're the guy from the videos," So he was like, look, somebody's seeing them anyway, definitely. But he said he spoke to the fact that, people can relate. They know then who they are buying from. I'm the owner of the business. It mightn't be the most polished video, but I'm standing there talking about the products, the features, the benefits. People see that, it's authentic, they relate to it, they trust it, and then you kind of build up that relationship. And I suppose you somewhat bridge the gap between that lovely relationship you might have with a customer when they come in and you're in the bricks and mortar. Obviously that's more challenging online, but it's what he's doing is bringing the personality to the brand by just getting out in front of the camera and doing it himself. He did also say, and we had a chat about it in the bar last night, that his videos, he knows from suppliers that come in to sell his products, or sell him products, that it's not just himself, it's not just Country Farm Supplies that sees the uplift from these videos, it's others in the industry as well. The suppliers were telling him that. So he knows that they're working, and he can see it working obviously in his own revenue. And the beauty of these videos is that they're quite organic. If you look at him, he's walking down the aisle of his warehouse, he's talking, just with his camera, he's talking very authentically. They're not costly to produce, in this day when it's the cost of acquisition is skyrocketing. He adds these videos to his stories, and if it's a situation that he's seen something getting quite a bit of traction, again, he's close to the numbers, and then he will put budget behind it, and he'll develop or put some spend behind promoting some of those videos. He is very engaged, as I said, across all social media platforms, and I was saying to him, he's in the agri and hardware sector, and if we were to take the traditional view, we'd probably say that that sector has been quite slow to adopt technology, and I think the tide has really turned on that now, and he completely agreed. That sector is now very much focused on online ordering, and they're on social media, and you just need to be there as well. He said he feels he needs to be on Google in terms of paid digital advertising. He needs to be on Facebook, Instagram and TikTok, and he needs to be across all those social media channels, be that through paid or organic content, because that's where his customer is. And that constant repetitive brand awareness, he has a plan to get content out in all of those channels numerous times every week, which might seem a little bit daunting to some, but he feels that's what he needs to do to be top of mind, because he said they're not always ready to buy, but I want to make sure that when they are ready to buy, that Country Farm Supplies is top of their mind. And I did ask him, has he a very structured comms marketing plan? That's a lot of channels and in terms of sharing that, and he was like, it's all up here. So, you don't have to have the structured comms marketing plan, sorry Gillian, that we would promote and advocate, but it's the fact that he is consistent across all those channels, and he's constantly creating content and sharing that out, and that element of consistency, and in his words he said, if you're not pushing yourself out there, you'll fade into the background. There's a lot of noise. And I think it was Clavio in the Future of Consumer Marketing report said that organic social media is one of the key locations that your customers will find out about your brand. So that engagement is really important. As he said, very close to his e-com trading figures. He's always watching orders coming through, always watching the order levels, watching spikes in those. Talking about the importance of that for his business, he said, look, if you're watching it, you know what's working, and you can do more of what's working. And he's really optimized and honed in on any of his activities, and he doubles down on them when he sees them working quite well. We talked about, he has quite a small team, and it's a big drain on resources to be executing those communications himself. And he said, I looked at outsourcing it to a marketing team in the past, and we did it. But he felt the challenges with outsourcing the likes of email and some of those organic videos and organic social media posts was that he lost control. And for him, the seasonality and even down to the weather, you need to know what your customer is going to want, particularly in the agri-business. And he found that the marketing teams were maybe showcasing products or pushing products that were just the wrong fit. And when he brought it back to himself, there was a much better match there. Which is an interesting point to note. Obviously, it's important to have a marketing agency for some teams, and particularly in the execution of paid digital advertising. It's always something we would advocate, but the point being that you should work very closely with that team to make sure that they are aware of the products you have deep stock of, they're aware of the seasonality and the nuances of your business, and that there is communication between you and that team on an ongoing basis. And trends are important. They can spike at any time. I did ask, are you ever shocked about what sells online? Because he has a very diverse range of products. He said, yeah, absolutely. He sold an air freshener for €8 there the other day, and he was like, my God, why would someone just buy an air freshener? And then the same day he sold a product for €8,000 or €9,000. So yeah, it's very diverse, but it just shows that the customer will engage if you have the product. On the topic of diverse products, and for some of you, your range is quite diverse, and you could be shipping small packages, and he has small packages, he has 25-litre drums, he has huge big farm equipment. And I said, how do you manage that from a delivery perspective? And he said, yeah, it's a challenge. He does offer drop shipping with some of his products. And he also uses TNT to take some of the pallets. I know a lot of you will be working with maybe An Post and DPD. I wasn't aware of kind of TNT. It wasn't one I'd heard a lot of, so I thought that was interesting. And then he said, look, if I get an order and I can't deliver it, it's just an opportunity to go out and meet my retailer. So I put it in the van and I go and deliver it myself. So it's just a really interesting take, you know. It's not very scalable, but when those situations arise, it's a frame of mind, really, isn't it? We would have a lot of retailers here who might just cancel the order and say, I can't deliver it. Or a lot of our retailers here might actually say, well, I can't actually ship those products, so I'm not going to make them available for purchase online. But he just turned it on his head and said, this is always an opportunity. I'm going to acquire the customer. And what he did last Sunday was load up the van, put the 2 kids in the front and went off and did a delivery on Sunday afternoon. And I suppose that's the nature of being an independent retailer, isn't it? So he's now transacting quite a significant, he's 200 orders a week online and growing. And in the last 12 months, that has grown significantly. Small team again, and we would often see where the challenges of fulfillment as the business scales can often be a big issue for retailers. And we have had retailers say to us, oh, I can't grow anymore because I don't have the team to fulfill. So I suppose that's where Wave OMS came into his business. And Colm and Kieran, maybe you'll talk to what happened there. But some of you will be familiar with Wave OMS. I'll let Kieran and Colm introduce it. They would have spoken at previous Magico Wave e-commerce events here, so lots of great content on our site to talk through where the guys talk in detail about the platform, and I'm sure they'll showcase it to you if you're interested later on. But it's a real streamlined pick, pack, sort solution that many e-commerce retailers have implemented. And do you want to maybe just give a few words there, Kieran, as to what you did for Wave OMS? Do you want to come up here? Is this live? Yeah. Do you want to join me here? Sorry. Thanks, Kieran.
I think for Jason's very kind of typical of a lot of retailers that would approach us. 9,000 SKUs is a phenomenal spread of SKUs, right? Equally, he would have a lot of SKUs that would be quite the same. So, you know, like a 40-litre black bucket is the same as a 30-litre, the same as a 50-litre, right? So his challenge as a retailer was, how do I grow?
Yeah.
And equally, how do I make sure that I, as an owner, to get me out of the business, to allow me to do the social media and the marketing and the growth activities, right, where the value added is. So our typical retailer that approaches us first would be, you know, printing every order on paper, will be, you know, printing the shipping docket separately, having to make those decisions relative to when the paper prints out to see which delivery it goes on, but equally making sure that you're getting your accuracy, right? Because with a small team, you know, you can't afford to have a get 2%, 3% of your orders wrong, right? Because, you know, that could be 2-3 orders a day. And therefore, there's a cost, there's a resource, there's a customer cost, of course, but also there's a resource cost to actually correcting that mistake, right? So what Wave does is Wave is completely paperless. We've a long-standing integration directly with Magico. So we just plug directly into your store. All the orders comes into Wave. We will break the orders into a real-time pick list. So when you're picking, you're not picking for one order, you're picking for all orders at once, right? So you get the economies of scale. And indeed, the busier you are, the more efficient it becomes. Because if you have to pick a certain SKU, you know, on a Monday morning and there's 10 of them, the following Monday, if it's 20, it's the same single pick. You just bring all 20 back, right? And because it's a barcode paperless-driven system, it means that as you're sorting the orders out, you're actually scanning the product. So it doesn't matter what the product is. If the product is an air freshener or a bucket or something he's never sold before of his 9,000 range, it doesn't matter, because as he's scanning it, we'll only print the ship label once actually the scan is correct, right? So that, you know, you got 4 items, every line on the screen go green, green, green. The last item, once it's scanned, it prints the label. And that includes then we push the order through our ship engine. So he would have TNT set up. I think he also has An Post. He would have his pallet, and he even has his own van set up, right? So within the rules, he can dictate to say, if it's an air freshener, send it on pack with An Post. Otherwise, if it's a bucket, it goes on TNT. Or indeed, if the delivery is out in Cove, and it's a big pallet, I'll deliver it myself, and it will automatically print a van label so we can process it through, right? Net effect is he can double the throughput of his orders, 100% accuracy, happier customers, limited resource requires relative to eliminate any kind of CS around that. And the fact is he can allow a transition your kit to walk in and just there's a scanner, you can drive my business, so you can concentrate on the value add activities and drive and deliver 40% growth next year and the year after.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and that's what he said. It was just, as he said, you know, small team, and being able to just take off that hat and put on, I have to go fulfill orders now, and just anybody can come in and do it. And it's not just Jason that has spoken to that from Country Farm Supplies. Like, we've been on site and we've seen it working for so many of our other retailers, so it has really brought huge efficiency to a lot of their operations. Thanks, Kieran. Yeah, brilliant. So just to wrap up, you know, I also just asked him to finish, you know, what has been his biggest learning since going online. And it was lovely to hear him say, you know, it's really rewarding. It's a lot of hard work, but it's really, really rewarding. You need to have the belief, you need to have the determination, you need to have the consistency to make it happen on an ongoing basis. But it's always something he wanted to do, and he actually has never thought it would be as successful as it is today. And now he's just excited for how much further he can push it. So it's a great success story, and unfortunately Jason wasn't here to tell it, but hopefully I've done him some bit of justice on that, and we wish him well. Thanks, guys.